All right, today we're heading to the ancient city of Samarkand in Uzbekistan to talk about one of the most absolutely stunning architectural wonders on the entire planet, the Registan. Now, this isn't just some landmark, it's the very heart of a golden age. Let's dive in.
So here it is. This is the Registan Square. I mean, just look at it. A breathtaking ensemble of three incredibly detailed and massive structures. For centuries, this was so much more than just a pretty public space. It was the absolute epicenter of the Timurid Renaissance, a focal point for culture, science, and imperial power. So you have to wonder, what was it about this particular place that made it the nucleus of an empire's golden age? Well, the answers are literally built into its walls, and that's the story we're going to unpack today.
To really appreciate the Registan, we need to go back and look at what it was originally for. This was the central public square of a massive empire, the stage where history was literally made.
Okay, so first things first, let's start with the name. Registan is Persian for sandy place. Kinda humble, right? Especially for a spot that would eventually become this magnificent and iconic. The Registan really had a fascinating dual nature. On one hand, it was this grand stage for imperial power, where royal proclamations were blasted out from these enormous copper pipes called jarchis. But on the other hand, it was also a pretty grim site of public justice, where executions happened. It was, in every sense, the heart of the city's life and its death. And those three incredible structures framing the square, they're all madrasahs. A madrasa is basically a school or a university. And think about the message that sends. Right at the very center of this powerful empire, the foundation was knowledge. So let's see how this whole grand vision even started. We've got to begin with the very first madrasa, which was dreamed up by a ruler who was as much as a scholar as he was a king. This is it, the Ulugh Beg madrasa. It's the first and the oldest of the three, finished way back in 1420. The guy behind it, Ulugh Beg, was the grandson of the legendary conqueror Timur, but he made his own name as a brilliant astronomer and mathematician. And this was no ordinary school, not by a long shot. In the 15th century, it was one of the best universities in the entire region. I mean, get this, the ruler of the empire, Ulugh Beg, this famous astronomer, was personally giving lectures inside these walls. It was this vibrant hub for brains that pulled in scholars like the poet Jami. It had the whole setup, lecture rooms, a mosque, even dorms for the students. But here's what's truly wild, the timeline. For 200 years after Ulugh Beg built his madrasa, it just stood there by itself, commanding the whole square. The iconic trio we see today, that was a project that took generations to complete. And that brings us to the second phase of construction. This was all driven by another ambitious ruler, 2 whole centuries later, who decided it was time to finally complete this architectural masterpiece. So the visionary behind this big transformation was Ulugh Beg, who was the ruler of Samarkand in the 17th century. He looked at Ulugh Beg's masterpiece and basically said, I can top that, and commissioned the final 2 buildings that would give the square its legendary symmetrical design. First up was the Sher-Dor madrasa. Now, Sher-Dor means tiger-bearing, and you're about to see exactly why they called it that. The mosaics right above the main arch are what make this building so famous. They show these incredible tigers chasing deer with a sun that has a human-like face rising on their backs. Now, depicting living creatures like this is extremely rare in Islamic architecture, which usually avoids it. So this facade isn't just famous, it's a really bold and historically important piece of art. About 10 years after the Sher-Dor was finished, work started on the final piece of the puzzle, the Tilya-Kori madrasa. It was built to stand right between the other 2 and finally complete that symmetrical look for the square. The name Tilya-Kori means gilded, and boy does it live up to the name. The interior is just stunning. While it was also a college for students, its main job was to be the city's grand mosque. The main hall and the dome are just dripping with breathtaking gold leaf. So here you can see them side by side. On the left, that's Ulugh Beg's original from 1420, and on the right, the Sher-Dor, built over 200 years later. You can see how Ulugh Beg totally mirrored the original size and shape, but then he infused the front with the more theatrical, dramatic art style of his own time. So, from a simple sandy place to an imperial center and now a global icon, the Registan story definitely doesn't end in the 17th century. Let's take a look at the legacy it has today. Today, the Registan stands as one of Uzbekistan's most treasured landmarks. I mean, it just captivates people from all over the world who come and find themselves totally mesmerized by the sheer scale, the vibrant colors, and the deep, deep history all around them.
And its global importance is officially recognized. The entire historic heart of Samarkand, with the Registan as its crown jewel, is a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site. This helps make sure it's preserved for all of us for generations to come. And get this model of the Registan is actually on display at the United Nations headquarters in New York City. That just shows you its international importance. It's become this powerful symbol of Uzbekistan's cultural heritage and a real testament to human creativity, celebrated on a global stage. Which, leads us to a final thought. It's so easy to be captivated by the sheer beauty of a place like this. But the real challenge is making sure we remember its whole story. The imperial decrees, the scientific breakthroughs, the acts of justice, all of the centuries of history that played out right on this very spot. It's a question worth asking ourselves about any great monument we visit, really.